Winged creatures carrying messages from the heavens. Unearthly guardians entrusted to observe and protect. Powerful warriors bringing about everything from plague to peace. But are angels merely the product of mankind's imagination, or do they really exist? If so, where do they come from? When angels appear, they begin to do things that defy our laws of physics. I don't think they actually had wings. It was ancient man's way of saying they had the power of flight. Are angels truly supernatural beings from heaven, or something more? It's essentially a misinterpreted flesh and blood extraterrestrial who visited Earth a long, long time ago. Millions of people around the world believe we have been visited in the past by extraterrestrial beings. What if it were true? Did ancient aliens really help to shape our history? If so, might angels really be travelers visiting the Earth from distant planets? Angels. According to a Nielsen survey taken in 2010, nearly 70% of Americans believe in their existence. But what are they? Winged visitors from God as depicted in the Bible? Smiling cherubs who peer down at us from billowing clouds? Or something much, much more? The concept of angels is obviously very widespread in certain cultures: American, Latin, Greek, Babylonian. When we think of angels, we immediately think of the Bible. But when you go on the internet or read books, you will find that people have visitations of angels every single day. In the Hebrew Bible's book of Genesis, angels first appear as divine beings sent to earth as messengers of God. They wanted to have God interacting with human beings, but it seemed somewhat undignified to have God directly operating, so he sent messengers. The word angel is a mistranslation. In Hebrew, the word for angel is malach. However, the correct translation is not angel at all, but messenger. In Greek, the word angelos means intermediary or middleman. So what do we have in these stories? We have intermediaries, messengers bringing information from God. By definition, angels are otherworldly. They are extraterrestrial. They're not from this planet. So really, by definition, ETs and angels are the same. Our modern conception of ETs has changed. But go back thousands of years when angels lived among our biblical ancestors. They didn't call them ETs. They called them angels. But they knew they were not of this world, not of this planet. But could some of these so-called messengers of God have served another function? One not so benevolent or benign? According to the Book of Enoch, the so-called lost biblical text, rediscovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls in the late 1940s, the first angels to arrive on earth were the fallen angels. It was on Mount Hermon that angels came down from the heavens, fallen angels, to inhabit earth. They were trying to assume power, and because of that, they were cast out from heaven and cast down to earth. Now, to me, this sounds more like a mutiny story where extraterrestrials arrived here, and there was a type of rift. They split into two different factions, and the faction that split off is what today is referred to as the fallen angels. Enoch was a believer in angels, fallen angels, and visitations. But everything he put in his scriptures seems to imply extraterrestrial visitation, from craft that he saw to mountainsides where they would land, to them taking him around and telling him things. Both in the Book of Enoch and in the Hebrew Bible, the fallen angels act in direct opposition to God's will by interbreeding with humans. In Genesis 6, it talks about the sons of gods, gods plural, mating with the daughters of men, and there was a certain evil connotation to it. How can angels have sex? Enoch describes it. Some of the extraterrestrials stood on earth. They had sex with some of our girls. That is what is written down in Enoch. It's not my invention. Enoch never calls them gods. He calls them guardians of the skies, or watchmen. According to ancient texts, the fallen angels not only physically mated with the women of earth, they produced offspring, the Nephilim, a race of giants similar to those portrayed in the story of David and Goliath. But ancient astronaut theorists suggest the use of the term giants is misleading. They theorize that the term refers not to the Nephilim's physical size, but to their almost superhuman abilities. Were they giants, or is that the wrong word? Should the correct word be extraterrestrial? Because then, in my opinion, it makes more sense as so far I have not seen an original fossil of a giant bone. But if, as many ancient astronaut theorists believe, fallen angels were really extraterrestrials that first arrived in the Middle East, wouldn't they have also appeared elsewhere in the world? For proof, researchers point to thousands of carvings and other depictions of winged guardians, strange creatures, and other half-man, half-beasts that commonly appear on ancient walls and artifacts. There is such an enormous amount of evidence to suggest that angels are not something Christianity invented, but that they were somehow physically present in all civilizations. Ancient cultures that depicted the gods as winged creatures include the Sumerians, the Babylonians, and certainly the Egyptians. All of these civilizations had symbols where there may have been a winged disk, or what we would call today probably a UFO. I believe they were just letting us know that these beings flew. In the Middle East in particular, there were depictions of supernatural beings with wings, the demons of Mesopotamia, the Zuzukaks, which had the head of a lion, the body of a human, and the wings of a locust. They were primarily soldiers of the higher gods, servants of the higher gods. The higher gods depended on these messengers. They would run back and forth gathering information. The Bible may be the most thoroughly documented account of extraterrestrial contact ever in written history here on Earth. We simply have not learned how to interpret and identify the clear and obvious evidence that the seraphim, the cherubim, the archangels, all these different hierarchies of beings described in the Old and New Testaments, literally refer to visitors who come here. Use the word extraterrestrials instead of angel. Use leader of extraterrestrials instead of archangel. If you change a few key words in the old text, you change the sense of the text. It's not coincidence. It was on purpose. It's time to wake up, to see these things with more than eyes. But if, as ancient astronaut theorists maintain, angels are not ethereal winged beings, but actually flesh and blood creatures visiting us from other planets, why are they here? Mount Sodom, Israel. A pillar of rock salt known as Lot's Wife overlooks the southwestern part of the Dead Sea, near the presumed location of the biblical cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. In both the Hebrew book of Genesis and the Islamic Quran, angels travel to this spot to warn Abraham's nephew Lot that God was about to unleash terror upon the world. And the angel finally says to Lot, "If you don't come now with your family, 2 girls and your wife, I cannot help you anymore." It looks as if a countdown was working, which could not be stopped anymore, even if the angel could not stop it. And sure enough, they walk away, and there's this mayhem and destruction. His wife turns around, and she turns into a pillar of salt. Since the ancient astronaut theory proposes that angels were nothing else but misinterpreted flesh and blood extraterrestrials, this means that extraterrestrials did side with certain people. Were angels, or extraterrestrials, interfering with human development? But if angels saved Lot and his family from the wrath of God, is this proof that angels are more than just otherworldly messengers? Might they be more actively engaged in helping their human counterparts, even to the extent that they might still be affecting the outcome of human history? Once again, ancient astronaut theorists look to the Book of Enoch for their answer, and claim to have found evidence in its references to a race of fallen angels known as Watchers. There is much debate among religious scholars about the fallen angels. Some say they were deliberately sent here to watch over man. In the Book of Enoch specifically, we have 20 watchers who are sort of in charge of all the other angels in Enoch's presence. You have the commanders, the officers, the lieutenants, and those 20 deliberately teach Enoch in various disciplines, such as meteorology, astronomy, how to make better swords. Now, would something like this really happen in the kingdom of God? I think the answer is clear. Where did they come from? What do they want? And if we're dealing with one or more intelligences, maybe they have different agendas. But perhaps there is something out there that has been an ally to evolving hominids, and we're the latest model. In the Bible, angels often appear to humans as physical entities that can be seen, heard, and even touched. But today, many people believe angels are present whether they can see them or not. According to a 2008 survey by Baylor University's Institute for Studies of Religion, 55% of American adults believe a guardian angel protects them. The popularity of guardian angels in modern culture, I think, has to do with the idea that we want some kind of supernatural protection in a world where we don't really feel very safe. Often, the Islamic faith teaches that every human being has not one but two guardian angels, one for each shoulder. These celestial beings are called writing angels because they write down the good deeds and the bad deeds in each person's life. The first so-called guardian angel to appear in Judeo-Christian texts is the angel Raphael, who is featured in the book of Tobit, written sometime between the 8th and 2nd century BC. Tobit is off on a very difficult mission. He's going to Persia to find a wife and runs into all sorts of problems along the way. So God sends the angel Raphael, and now we have the angel not just as a messenger from God. He becomes a guardian angel, a special protector. The idea of a guardian angel, is it just because we wish it? We believe that somebody's protecting us? Or does it come from the past? Has it to do maybe with something extraterrestrial, in the sense that some extraterrestrial said to some human, "We'll protect you, don't be afraid"? What is the guardian angel guarding us from? Why is that guardian angel protecting us? And is there more than one? The short answer is absolutely yes. He's guarding us from what? The fallen angels. In Judeo-Christian and Islamic tradition, there's an idea that there will be some kind of final warfare when God defeats Satan once and for all. That's been interpreted by some people to say that the aliens will come back. They'll fight it out again one final time. Both the Book of Enoch and the New Testament's Book of Revelation refer to a final cosmic battle of good versus evil. Other biblical stories include accounts of angels wielding extraordinary powers. Angels who are not just guardians, but who intervene in human affairs.